is a Native community development financial institution. And our mission is to transform Native agriculture and food economies by delivering creative capital, leading paradigm changes, and enhancing producer prosperity across Indian country. Akiptan is the Lakota word for working together in a cooperative effort, and this is reflective of our lending philosophy. While CDFs are like banks in the sense that they provide loans, you cannot deposit money. We're different in that way. We also provide technical assistance, and our TA, we call it TA, also shows up in the forms of business and goal planning, succession planning, financial literacy training, and other developmental tools to help build financial literacy. While there are laws that we have to follow, we are unregulated, and this allows us to be flexible and innovative with our lending models. A little bit of stats. Since our inception of 2019, we've reached 27 tribal nations. We have committed 2.7 million in loan capital, and we have dispersed 310 loans in Native agriculture. Okay, and today's webinar is ways to diversify your agribusiness income. I'm Dawn LeBeau. I'm a program officer with Akiptan. I've been with the organization for 2 years. And we also have with us Justine Kougl, and she is also on our team as a program officer. And I'll go ahead and just introduce her. Bear with me, please. Okay, so Justine has spent many years working on the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in agriculture, in community development, and at the FSA. Her husband and children are enrolled members of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. She holds a master's degree in economics from the South Dakota State University and has career experience in finance, program management, nonprofit leadership, and agriculture businesses, both personal and professionally. And we'll be talking about a little bit of that today with her. 10 years ago, her and her family moved their ranching operation from the Cheyenne River area to the Pryor Mountain Range on the Crow Reservation in Montana, where they continue to manage their cattle and horse herd and also promote their packaged beef business. Justine and her family have firsthand knowledge of the challenges that Native producers face, and they're determined to be a part of the solution, and we're very glad to have her on our team here. Justine has a passion to help Native American producers by obtaining working capital, understanding the business aspect of agriculture, and by helping promote future generations of Native agriculture stewards for years to come. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Justine. If you'd like to add anything, please do so.
I don't know if I even want to add anything. It's so hard to sit back and like have somebody read a bio on you and you're like, oh, wow, okay, cool. But I'm just really excited to be here today, you guys. I feel like I'm very fortunate in the aspect that I get to be here in really two realms. I get to be here as a producer myself, but I also get to be here as part of our organization, and try and help answer any questions and tell you about our experience. So really, I mean, put those questions in the chat box, raise your hand, let us know if you have a question as it comes up. We'll be happy to answer this. Very conversational type webinar today. So glad you all are here. And yeah, I'm excited to help you guys get to know a little bit more about diversification.
Cool. Thanks, Justine. So with that said, once again, everyone is welcome to either raise your hand and unmute to ask questions, or use the chat as well, and we will answer questions as we move along throughout the webinar today. All right, so we're going to start with a little poll. We are interested in learning more about you to help build things out, but specifically for this one, I'm going to go ahead and launch it. I hope you all have the ability to answer these questions. The first one is, do you currently diversify your agribusiness income? Yes, no, or you're thinking about it? Should be popping up on the screen there. The second one, we would like to know if you have a business plan developed or you're working on one. Same replies in that one too. And the third question is, do you have time to add diversity to your current agriculture operation? I see we're getting some answers here. Okay. Well, people are thinking about starting to diversify their agribusiness income. That's great. That's why we're here today. All right, I think we're good. Thanks, everybody. Some good answers. It looks like everybody has the time to diversify your current agriculture business. So, well, not everybody. There's some unsures on there too. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's go ahead and move through the slides here. So what does it mean to diversify your income in agribusiness? Diversification of income on your ranch, your farm, or any agribusiness that you have means that you would basically like to increase your income and reduce the dependence on the one single source of income that you have. And Justine, feel free to jump in anytime if there's more you'd like to add to any of these slides. So simply put, you would like to expand your income of your agribusiness, right? So Justine, maybe you can talk a little bit about your cow-calf operation and how you've done that.
Perfect. Yeah. So, when we think about a ranching operation, even just 10 years ago, for the most part, whether it be you're raising cattle, sheep, chicken, vegetables, that's what you raised, that's what you took to market, whether it be to a sale barn, to a farmer's market. And that was that. We're moving towards this local foods movement, and it's really taken off. I'm sure all of you in your respected areas have also seen where through COVID, it was a big deal, right? We couldn't get certain foods and things were tough. And so everybody looked to the rancher and the farmer to help. Which created this amazing push for local foods and knowing where your food comes from. And so I think it's really important that in agriculture, we look at the whole picture. Our ranching operation used to be, we had registered Angus, and then we had a commercial herd, and that was it. We took our calves to the sale, we sold some bulls, and that was that. Now today we have went into kind of a value added program basically, and there's different ways to do this, but for us personally, it was going into packaged beef. To that, I mean, you can have packaged beef where you sell, quarters and bulk beef, or you can have packaged beef where you're selling literally piece by piece. Then you can take it a step farther, even to diversify it farther, where you can go into smoked meats, snack meats, and that type of thing. When we look at gardening, for our gardeners out there, it's no different. When we talk about diversification, you can, go into jams and jellies and pickling and really making something other than just the initial product that you typically produce. And that's really where we go into diversification when we're talking about value added products from what we've already from what we're already doing. And then there's a whole nother, sorry, Dawn. There's a whole,
you're good.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is this direct to consumer marketing. And really that's a big part of diversifying, because it's just taking your products that one step farther and being able to say, hey, we do this already. Will this make us more income? Will this benefit our entire operation to begin with? And so, we go back to those questions that we just polled you on. One of the big things is, do we have the time? It takes more time to do that additional processing, to do the marketing and things like that. So as you're preparing a business plan, you want to definitely keep that in mind. But there's also other types of diversification. And maybe we'll just stop here and we'll focus on this direct to consumer. Dawn, if you want to go through this and then we can move forward, what do you think?
Yep, definitely. So like Justine just said, a lot of you probably already know the, cattle beef being sold directly to consumers. We've seen a lot of folks here on Cheyenne River doing that. They have online stores. They set up at the farmers market here, and it's really nice to know exactly where your product comes from, where it's raised, what the processing looks like. And it's definitely nice to support our local communities and see all of the local jellies and jams. And it'd be even nicer to have that being sold directly in the grocery stores and restaurants. And you see that happening often, those are forms of selling your product as well. So I liked what Justine said about our food economies and building those out and what we've seen, over the past couple years. And I'd really like to hear if anybody else is doing any direct to consumer. Please place your thoughts or your comments in the chat, and we'll just move through the slides here and visit about it. There's other things too, right? So besides what we just mentioned, we have lots of folks that are selling hay. If you have extra hay, you can sell it to others that who need some bales or large bales. We have lots of trucking operations that are doing extra things in that area. The value added products, jellies, jams, kombucha, salsas, dried veggies, canned veggies. We've seen it all. So those are additional ways to diversify your gardening products. And then I've also seen this opening a site on a farm or ranch store. I toured a couple gardens here in South Dakota, and one of them had just a store set up right outside their little garden where they were selling their value added products. They had just the smallest little shop ever. And it was the best thing that I've seen. They had their little setup where they could clean and process, and then their store over off to the side. So there's so many things that come to mind when we think about this stuff too. Like, are you in an ideal location where consumers are able to stop in and shop too? You're thinking about marketing things, you're thinking about location, pricing, the cleanliness of stuff. Do you have to get certain approvals or certain licenses to do this? We'll move into the next slide, but these are things that we're actively thinking about, right?
Another thing with that, Dawn, that I wanted to mention is, like, for me personally, we live on a ranch out in the Fire Mountains. I don't have people that are like, hey, let's drive 30 miles and go get beef. So, oftentimes what I do is I set up standard times, like every Monday, I'm going to be up in Billings at the Cabela's parking lot at 9 a.m. Like, send your order in. So that's a way that if you aren't in one of those ideal locations or right in town, that you can still get your goods sold. And whatever that value added product is. So there are ways around that. And if you guys have more questions on that, please let me know.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's something that comes to mind that we didn't mention right now, please put it in the chat and we can talk about it today. Let's go ahead and move into more ideas around diversifying your income. You see things such as barnyard weddings, right? So there's other things besides the direct consumer, the value added. I've seen venues offering things like off-grid spaces to camp, adventurous spaces for hiking or trail walking. I actually sat in on an idea where a woman wanted to just do an off-trail walking path on her property because it was close to town, close enough so people could just drive out and come and have a walk. So she wanted to create like a little adventure space. And there's so many moving pieces in that. When she was talking about it, she was like, I have to get a contractor, I have to get, product, I have to work around the seasons, and also be mindful of any cultural significance of that space. So she had to get, the local tribal preservation folks out there to make sure that she was being, respectful of the land. Cycling spaces, local food and drink events. There's just a lot of different things outside of, the cattle, direct to cattle. Anything you want to add to this piece, Justine, that comes to mind?
I would say this slide and the next slide that we're going to talk about really go hand in hand for me. At our place that we used to own, we did a lot of these things. We didn't do weddings. I didn't have that much gumption to dive into that with brides. But that being said, we had a lot of people that would come out and utilize our ranch and the trails on our ranch just for trail riding. I would not provide horses because that is too much of a liability for what we wanted to take on. But people would come, and we're going to talk about campsites in just a minute, but they would come and camp or just come for the day, park on our property and ride out. Sometimes we would actually utilize them to work the cows and move the cows, and people loved it, but they would pay us to do it, which to me at the time was unfathomable. Like, why are people doing this? But they don't have the accessibility to do that in their general lives, right? And so if you can make, a little bit of money to support your operation just by opening up a little bit and making some new friends, it's definitely worth it. Couple things to remember. I mean, we kind of had a liability form, for them to fill out because it's very important that you protect yourself and your property. And also just kind of have a set of guidelines in place when you're talking about inviting and having people, even just as a farmer's market or a farm store. You definitely want to have some guidelines in place and check what your county or your state recommends or requires you to have. So those are very important things, I think, when we're talking about diversifying into like the agritourism type stuff. And I think it's very important, and it's a great way to make some additional income.
Thanks, Justine. So agritourism is something that we get approached with a lot. And it's basically just any activity that's carried out on a ranch or a farm that allows like general public to come in and do everything that Justine just mentioned, right? So it can be recreational, entertaining, or even educational things. We have a couple people that do on-site food classes on their farms, and they're teaching about indigenous foods and how those are important, and that then ties into indigenous practice and history and culture. So lots of really awesome things to do in the agritourism portion too. And I guess I don't want to focus on this part too much. I want to focus more on the next few slides, but if anyone has any questions around agritourism, I'll put a link in the chat for our local information around that, so you can check that out if you have any questions around that. So there's that. Okay, let's move to the next slide. This is really cool. I like this. If you do have cattle or a farm, or you do value added, branding and swag, I have been told, is the biggest hit. And I saw it play out in action yesterday. There was a man, we went out of town for my son's birthday, and this man pulled up and he had a really cool logo on his pickup. And my relative said, "I like your logo. Do you have a sticker?" And the guy says, "Well, do you even know what that sticker's for?" And he's like, "I don't, but it's cool." And he says, "Well, I have a local food truck, and we source local down the road. So I want to get stickers." Now he's like, "I'd buy a sticker from you." So, I mean, prime example, like merch, it sells. If it's a cool logo, people want to wear it. And then you're getting your product and your marketing done and making money at the same time. So you can have some swag with your logo. They can be shirts, cups, pens, stickers, fridge magnets, totes. People love totes, right? So yeah, I know, Justine, you have lots of merch, and you gave me a couple things this weekend.
Yeah, no, we well, some of the things that we've developed through my own business, which is Mr. Beef. So it stands for Montana Ranch Beef, but it's a great play on words, right? So Mr. Beef. I wish I had my husband here. He's got all sorts. He wears our t-shirts religiously. So we had the really comfy ones made, right? And they have our logo on them. We've got our hats. And I think we sell hats for like 20 bucks, shirts, 20 bucks. But like on the back of our shirts or sometimes on the front of them, we chose to do funny sayings or maybe semi-inappropriate sayings, as my mother would say. Um, but we do have ones that are very like, you know, eat beef, save a farmer, type shirts. The other ones that we have say Mr. Beef, and then they say well hung on them. So you guys can get a good giggle out of that because we like to hang our beef for 21 days, not the typical 14. So lots of fun plays on words there. But honestly, you know, if you come up with some fun designs and play around and have fun with it, social media is a great seller. You know, I've got William and sometimes my son are wearing these shirts, and you know, we're just out doing what we daily do, you know, whether it be taking care of cattle, working horses, cleaning corrals. Let's be real, like that stuff just doesn't happen. But you snap some fun videos of that, you throw it out there on social media, and next thing you know, people are like, oh, where'd you get that shirt? And you're like, actually, here you go, here's my website. And truthfully, I mean, it, you know, you can buy the shirts for $6 to $7 and then you sell them for 20. You're making a good income on them, and it's not taking you a lot of time other than to put them in the mail. So it's a good way to, you know, as we're talking about, diversify your ag income, because, you know, on certain years things are real tight no matter what market you are dealing with. And so anything that you can do to help form your brand and really make yourself stand out and your business stand out is going to be a positive influence for you. So I would highly recommend figuring out a brand and doing some swag, even if it's just some ball caps to start with, because they really do sell, and it doesn't take all that much time or effort to get it up and going. So something to think about.
Right. And there's more pieces to that. Like logistics, right? Like, am I going to accept cash? Am I going to accept card? Am I going to do this in person and online? But we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move through this. We're going to talk about like, here's what you need to look at, and here's the important pieces. But we'll move to the next slide and just lightly touched on education and knowledge sharing. You see a lot of folks get invited to different local ag events to talk about their best practices around Indigenous conservation, farming, ranching, etc. Or just presenting at the local school and sharing with your local ag students, or at your local nonprofit that does gardening work, or they go out into the, you know, country to show different things of a farm or a ranch. And there's specifics around that too, right? Being safe and being around kids and doing all the things. But education and knowledge sharing is just another small way that you can do this as well. Is there anything you want to add to that, Justine?
I would say with the education and knowledge sharing, I never thought I could make any money for the ranch by talking about what we do in agriculture. And you would be shocked, to be honest. Like, the knowledge that we possess as farmers and ranchers is something that not everybody has. And it's a very select group of us that do have that knowledge. And if you put yourself out there and are willing to, you know, go in front of a group, and it doesn't have to be a huge group, guys. I spoke at a Women in Ag conference just as a female producer. And they paid for my room, and I think it was like a $500 stipend, just to go and speak and talk to them for an hour about what we do on our ranch and how, you know, how our farm transition worked. So it's stuff that you guys know in and out. It's not like you have to study for. It's literally telling your stories, and we have very important stories in agriculture, and sometimes they're overlooked. So don't ever think that what you do isn't important. And sometimes putting yourself out there is really worth it, and it starts a big network for you.
Thanks, Justine. Are there any questions around any of this? Just watch the chat for any questions.
Don, I see you put something in the chat box here. What are we, the sdvisit.com?
So this is just information around agritourism specific to South Dakota, but it will lead you to other states and what their policies and procedures and details are around what agritourism means. So
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great piece of information there, guys.
yeah. So the next thing we'll touch on is considering alternative farming ranching methods to increase your product's value. We think that it's important to understand different programs and how they can support your business too. We think it's important that you schedule time to ask questions about soil management of your grass with, you know, the different USDA programs, the extension programs, any land grant universities that might have knowledge that can help you to increase your methods and help care for your land. And so we didn't want to really deep dive into that, but we do want to name it as an important piece of all of this. But Justine, is there anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I do. So there are tons of programs out there, especially when we look at like USDA and extension. And sometimes we don't realize how important it is for us to do a soil test or a water test, testing the nitrates, testing for different nutrients in the soil. But that alone can potentially increase your productivity a lot. So sometimes going to extension and saying, hey, can I do this $10 water test? Or can I do this, you know, $20 soil test? And can you help me understand the results and what my land needs? Might help you to be doubly productive. You know, maybe you're not planting the right crop. Maybe you need a different fertilizer to really kick off your production levels. So don't, you know, don't let that go by the wayside. It's very important to visit with these experts in those fields.
Thank you. All right. So now we'll move into the other section of the presentation. We want you to be thinking about things to consider. We named it in the poll, like how much time do you have? Do you have a business plan? And where are you at in wanting to diversify your income? So we want to give you just some tools and some step-by-step pieces. So the first thing is, you know, how much time do you want to dedicate? Do you have, you know, 3 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year? What does your time commitment look like? Knowing your schedule is so important. Like, you don't want to overwhelm yourself, but you also want to make sure that you're getting back what you put in. So looking at your numbers is highly important. We do technical assistance here at Akiptan, and I am so honored to work with the loan officers that we have here. They have helped a lot of native producers to understand their cash flow sheets and to know their numbers and to know how much time they spend on this and that. And they also get input as well. You know, if they're having a struggle and they're not sure what to do here or there, they have partners here to help them with that. And other things to look at is, what does the market look like for what you're trying to do? What is it going to cost you? A business plan will help in all of these pieces. So knowing your schedule is going to help you understand how much time you have. Knowing your numbers is going to help you understand what kind of funding you need, and what is your time commitment going to be. Maybe you have some off-season time where you can sit down and do these things. But Justine named this, and I thought it was really important. In her business, you have to be willing to go through the ebbs and flows of things, especially with the market and the environment. You have to be fluid and be able to say, okay, well, I planned this out in my business plan. I was going to sell this much cattle or beef, and things just didn't work out that way. So the ebbs and flows, I'd like to hear a little bit more from Justine about that, if you would please.
Absolutely. So this to me is something that I cannot preach enough on. You know, my husband he's a generational rancher. You know, a lot of it was, this is how we've done it. This is how we're going to do it. And change can be sometimes hard, and sometimes you have to turn and pivot when things happen, right? So take, for instance, the cow calf operation turned into packaged beef business. And really we had started doing that in 2018. It exploded in 2020. We've been so busy with packaged beef. And then 2023 came around and our lives changed a little bit and the market started changing for cattle. So, 2018 to 2022, essentially, our markets to take cattle to the sale barn were down. We were not making enough money on the calves for the inputs that we were putting in. And it was really tough. I mean, we were doing outside work, we were doing all the things. So we switched over to packaged beef. That increased our production, it increased our income, and we rolled with it. But here in 2023, our cattle markets and our cattle prices at the sale barns are back to being increased, and they're at a decent price right now. And so we've actually sold off about 10 of our fat cattle to the market because I can't get it into the processor. Sorry, guys. Like, what am I saying? We couldn't get appointments for the processor. And, after I did the figures and worked through our cash flow, we, on those 10 head, we made just as much money taking them to the sale barn this year as we would have selling them, taking them all the way out to a finished product, to the processor, to finished beef, then do the marketing, and then do the delivery. We made just as much money taking them to the sale barn this year. But the previous 4 years, that wouldn't have been the case. So it's important that we can step back and see, like, yes, I'm going to stay in the packaged beef business. Just because I sold those 10 head early doesn't mean that I'm not still doing my packaged beef as Mr. Beef. I am. But I'm making wise business decisions for our entire operation as a whole. Like, we didn't have the processing space to get those cows in when they needed to. So I had to make some tough decisions, and you have to be willing to step back and say, well, I know we switched over to packaged beef, but we still have the alternative market of going to the sale barn with these critters. And so we have to be able to look at the big picture and say, what's going to be best for our entire operation? And what does the bottom line look like? And for us, when we made that decision, our bottom line was still right where it would have been had we taken them all the way out and we didn't have the extra time into those critters. So it's something to really think about. Sometimes you're going to find, like, yes, we're having such success, and then the market does turn, and we don't have much control over that in our realm, guys. I wish we did, but we don't. And when those things happen, we really have to be able to have that pivot. But again, that is why having some diversification within your operation is so vital, because you do have other opportunity then. You're not just resting all your eggs in one basket, essentially. We have the packaged beef business, we have the cattle, and we have our horse business. If one of those fails or is decreasing, we can look to the other. So I think it's really important that, we look at the entire business as a whole and make those decisions when we need to. So that's what I was talking about when we talk about ebbs and flows.
Thanks, Justine. All of that makes the most sense, right? In anything that you're doing. So always got to have a plan A, B, and C, sometimes a plan D. Okay. So the other pieces are looking at the legalities of your idea. So we want to name that we're not offering any legal advice, but we want you to be thinking about things and be educated on things. And all of these things, they vary from town to town, state to state. But you do need to know what your local laws are around your ideas. So like, do you need to have specific documents in place for your business? Are there certain licenses around like food safety or packaging your product in a certain way? Do you need certain insurances that if you're doing, packaged beef, is it the same insurance that you're going to do, for your ranch? So you want to talk to your people And make sure that your insurances and your licensings, they cover everything that you're doing. Like no question is too big or too small. It's all important. You need clarity around these things. It can be a little overwhelming to ask the questions and not know the answers. So it's better to ask the question and go through it and not know. I would rather ask like 50 million questions than be unclear about, am I doing this correctly? So legalities, like, do you need to have certain liability forms, like Justine mentioned, if people are coming onto your property for like agribusiness stuff, or if you have a little store on your property, and then sales tax. What does that look like in your state? How does it differ from selling one thing to another? And I'm going to put in here in the chat just one link that will help you kind of understand a little bit about those services.
I would like to also recommend, if you guys are diving into any type of business diversification, whether it be agriculture or whatever it happened to be, I would highly recommend sitting down with an organization, that does business planning. Whether it be like our organization within agriculture, but there are a ton of different types of organizations, and they're going to be different throughout where you're at, but nonprofits come to mind. There's also like the rural development usually has a lot of answers for these questions or can help you find them. Your extension service is also a great resource that people forget about. So I just think it's really important to know that there are opportunities that are free, that these are people that are going to help you, that's what their entire business is for. But just make sure you're reaching out and covering all of those bases.
Thanks, Justine. So the link that I put in the chat, that is just a link to agriculture services. So it's going to explain to you what kind of taxes you need to put on different sales or purchases for different things. So I will email this. Thank you, Lisa, for naming that. I'll email it after the presentation here. But let's go ahead and just, keep moving through the slides here. I did a time check. We are at 15 minutes. So we have quite a few slides left to go through, and I want to be considerate of everybody's time today and let you all get back to what you need to do at 1 o'clock. Okay, so separating your books, how will you keep your variety of operations separate? Are you going to keep them completely separate? You have your farming stuff here, your ranching stuff here, you have a small store here. What are the tools that you can use to help keep those things separate? Like QuickBooks does a great job of that. Excel is another tool. If there's anything else that you all use, please put it in the chat. But just be thinking, how are you going to keep all of your income and expenses and your cash flow documentation separate and clear in your mind, so you can be like, okay, I made X number of dollars for my value added this year. I made X amount of dollars for my cattle sales this year. Really be thinking about how you're going to separate all of these expenses. And we do have some great tools on our website for that too, a cash flow sheet and a balance sheet. People can download them and use them at your leisure. They're all templated out for you. So I can put that in the outgoing email as well. Okay, so the other thing is, will you need to amend your business structure? These are the different types. We have sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, corporation, S Corp, B Corp, closed corp, nonprofit, and cooperative. And I also have another link for that. It's important that you understand what each of them is. So I'm going to place that in the chat as well. If you're here, you might be familiar with both of them or all of them, but the most common ones that I have seen is the sole proprietorship, which is one way of giving you complete access to or control of your business. You're like automatically considered to be a sole proprietor if you do business activities but you don't register as any other kind of business. However, we have the LLC, and the LLC helps you to take advantage of the benefits of both the corporation and partnership business structures. So it protects you from personal liability. In most instances, your personal assets, like any kind of vehicle, house, savings accounts, there's different things to all of these pieces, right? So I will just talk about those two, and feel free to look at that link and see the details of the other ones, and reach out to the SBA. That a lot of the links I'm sharing today are through the SBA because they do the small business stuff. Is there anything that you want to add around this, Justine?
I don't really think so. I think we could do a whole 5-hour presentation just on business structure alone, which I don't think we want to dive quite into today. However, like Don said, contact your local SBA. They are there to really walk you through this part of things.
Great, thank you. Okay. So steps to planning, because we are planners, right? As Indigenous folks, we have been planning from day one. So when you think about your plan, this is all going to be in your business plan, right? So what is your objective? Why do you want to start this business? List those out and just make a running list. And then your products and services. Think about, why are you offering this product? Is there a problem that you're trying to solve, like food insecurity, or maybe it takes 3 hours to get to the local store to get supplies, and you could offer that locally for, a fair price. And talk about how your products and services are going to help to solve the problem that you're trying to take on. Who's your target market? Who are the customers that are going to be coming to you? Where do they go now? And what would that look like? Big part of all the planning is marketing. We talked a little bit about that when Justine talked about her Mr. Beef and how she drives to Cabela's and sets up for a certain amount of time. She also probably contacts her clients and say, hey, you placed an order, I'm going to be in your area, I can ship it, or you can pick it up. Which do you prefer? So you want to give a brief overview of how are you going to market those? Where are you going to set up? How are you going to do things online? There's so many moving pieces to marketing too. All right, so your competitive approach. If you're selling Mr. Beef stuff, what does your current market look like for your product, and who else sells the products in your area? How are you being competitive with them, or how can you partner with them to promote each other? So many pieces in that competitive approach. Finances and budget allocation. How do you plan on financing this business, and what does your budget look like? This goes back to the cash flow and balance sheet and expenses and all those things. Like, what is it going to cost you? I want to take a really close look at the feasibility of everything, right? Plans for operating your business. Are you going to need some help? You need to hire some employees, and what does it take to hire employees? SBA also has some really great information on that as well. Where are you located? What equipment do you require? What do you have on hand? How much funding will you need to get more? These are all of the steps to planning. So KPIs, key performance indicators, like how are you going to measure your success? When are you going to sit down and say, I hope to sell X amount of value added products in this month, and how am I going to meet that goal? And then you can go back and look at it and say, okay, I didn't meet that goal. What are some things that I could do differently to get to that objective or that goal? So KPIs are really important. You kind of want to list them out, like, these are my goals, this is how I'm going to meet them, and go from there. Try to meet your own objectives. Okay. Another piece of your business plan is your company description. You're going to list from the jump, or from the start, overview of your business in 2 to 3 sentences. So you're going to list how you got started, what type of business you have, and what is your legal structure. Are you a sole proprietorship, an LLC, a C Corp, or an S Corp, and understanding those pieces. So you're going to open with that. And mission statement, this is a really fun piece to work on. It's like a 1 or 2 sentence tagline that catches your target audience attention. Like Justine's little, one-liners on her shirt. Like, we're not gonna forget like the things she just said.
Oh, Dawn, you're so cute. The things she just said.
I already forgot. That's fine.
Mr. Beef, well hung. You
There we
got
go.
it.
Mr. Beef, well hung. Okay. So focus on what your business does and make your mission statement unique. I named our mission statement here at Akiptan in the start. We are committed to producer prosperity, changing the paradigm, and offering creative capital. So that's a mission statement. Your vision statement. So it's another 1 or 2 sentence goal for your business, and what is the long-term vision for your business. You're going to put that in your vision statement too. Like, you want to support food sovereignty, so this is why I'm doing it. Or you want to support your local community. So many examples on the internet that other people have already done, and it might spark something within you. Or maybe your family has been doing this for a long time, and that helps to create your mission and vision statement. You're also wanting to do like a overview of your products in the start and what makes them unique, indigenous owned or tribally owned or from a certain area. How are you going to price them? Do an overview of that, and deeper into your business plan, you're going to break that down even more, so you have a clear understanding of what this is. But this is what you start off with, right? So your market analysis plan, we kind of talked about that in the other slide, but what is your market? Who are you targeting? And how do you plan to reach those sales goals? That also goes along in your competitive analysis and your sales distribution. So, all important pieces of your business plan. Organization and management. You want to know who's going to be helping you. So who's your current team and what do you need? Do you need to hire on seasonal help? Do you have family that are helping you, and what does that look like? You also want your marketing process to be documented. You want a detailed process of where you market, how you market, what are the key steps and how you get there. Like, somebody could come in and read your business plan and take it over and go through that. That's what right? You want them to pick it up and be like, oh, this is how they did it, and this is why they were successful. Location. Where are you located? Do you have multiple locations? Do you have both online and in person? You want to list those out very clearly. Quality control. This is your processes and your details of how your product is created, how your product is stored to meet a consistent quality standard. So you're going to do a quality control report so people know this is how it is done, this is what we do, and this is how we meet that demand safely. Inventory, you always want to keep a list of all your materials, how you store your materials, and any details in that list. You always want to just keep a good inventory of things rather than having things kind of scattered all over and like just listed here or there. So keeping things together and organized is really important in your organization and management. Vendors and suppliers. So you want the names and the contact information for your key vendors, any contracts that you've started with them, what the payment terms look like. Are you paying them quarterly? Are you paying them weekly? What are those? Are you paying them with a check or a card? What does that look like? And then also list exactly what they provide for you, and little notes, how is your relationship, and things of that nature. Is there anything that you would like to add to this one?
I don't think so. I think just organization is key. And it's, for our family, it's important to have things wrote down because that keeps us accountable. It keeps us going and a reminder of what we're striving for.
Right. All right. We're running low on time, so I'm just going to go through these. We have a form on our website and it lists all of this stuff, but these are important documents that you're going to want to put in your business plan. Permits and licenses, your articles of incorporation, bylaws, any permits for the state, tribe, or city, your EIN number, leases for any land, buildings, property that you have, a list of your assets, so any equipment, vehicles, or products that you own. We named this already, your contracts and vendors, property documents, blueprints, any labor trade agreements, if applicable, proof of insurance. We're going to have all of this stuff tidy and together in a binder. And then any tribal citizenship documents, if necessary, or any tribal documents. So I will share the link to this as well in the follow-up email, that way you have it. Your financial plan is a big part of your business plan too. So this is very in-depth. It's going to be a listing of all your financial elements. So you're going to have a 3-year cash flow projections with any explanations. We have something like that on our website too. Balance sheet, profit and loss projections, sales plan, tax returns, any quotes, receipts, any financial records. Keep that stuff organized and together so you can always track it and monitor it. And loans, if you have any loan notes, keep those in there too. So financial plan. I went through that very quickly, but I will follow up with the email and I will have links to some of these things that we have available to you all on our website. All right, so SWOT analysis, it's basically strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you go through these, you're thinking long-term and short-term sometimes, but you want to think about your strengths. And I'm only going to do like number 1 when I go through these. I'm not going to do 1 through 4, but what are things that your business does well? Those are your strengths. Weaknesses, any resource limitations or things that your business lacks. This is going to help you to find resources so you can do better. So list those out. Opportunities. Are there any underserved markets? What is the problem you're trying to fix, right? And threats, like what are your equipment needs? Do you need to get funding for that? And how are you going to get that? So do a SWOT analysis, both short-term and long-term. And this is a great template to follow too. Okay, the other piece in a business plan is having any supporting documents. So just like Justine said, organization is key. You want to have any contracts you have, the NRCS, the FSA, your loan documents, tribal programs, any certifications that you received for business classes, tribal monitoring trainings, trucking trainings, value added food safety things, and a list of your mentors. So people that you rely on, right? So keep a list of all of those contacts, and then you always know like where everything is at. And it's a step-by-step thing to get all of these things in order. But we do have a business plan template on our website as well. And I will be following up with that document as well. And Justine, I want to give you just a minute to like name anything. And this is actually like closing us out a minute before. So
Okay, perfect. I think the biggest thing, when I say organization is key, I really mean that. My husband and I, we have different strengths. Mine is the business side of things. So I put together a 3-ring notebook. Here's all my stuff, right? That way, when I do need it, or I need to go to the bank, or I need to go and meet with somebody, I have everything put together. It's easily accessible and easily transportable. So 3-ring binders are my best friend. And I would just encourage you guys, if you guys have questions, please reach out to Dawn and I. Our emails are on the website. And, just know that, through our organization, we're here to help. So definitely reach out to us. And Dawn, I'll let you do the closing stuff.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. I'm sorry that I had to whiz through those last couple of slides. But like I said, I'll follow up with other things. But I do want to let you know about our additional programming here at Akiptan. We do lending, right? And technical assistance, but we're constantly expanding. So we have a market study that we did in 2022. It's available on our website, and there's lots of great information on there. We talked about how much unmet need there is. There's like 43 billion in unmet need for Indian countries' native ag. So check that out. We host monthly webinars like this. The next one coming up is taxes, understanding basic tax stuff with Rob Holcomb in October. So please check that out on the website. You can sign up early. We send out reminders to, it's happening on this day. I named a lot of our resources today, and that is going to be emailed to you, but you can go straight to our website and download it on your own as well. In 2024, we're going to have our Oki Chinese Scholarship. It's anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, depending on the year, for high school graduates that are going into native agriculture. We have our summer internship program, which I absolutely am thrilled to share all the time. But that's coming up next summer. We have a Woju garden program where we help those that are gardening develop a business plan and move into selling value-added products. I also would like to name career opportunities that we have here right now. We're hiring for a climate smart regenerative ag program officer. That job description is on our website. Please check it out and share it with anybody that you know that would be interested in. And last but not least, here's our contact information. I assume everybody signed up for our newsletter. That may be how you got here, but we have all the socials: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a lot of cool things on YouTube around cash flow, balance sheets, understanding loan documents. So please take a moment to check those short clips out on our YouTube. And like Justine said, our emails are in the chat. Reach out to us and we can connect you with the loan staff. We can connect you to resources. And we're just very thankful that you took time out of your day to spend an hour with us. And we hope that this information was helpful. So thank you so much. Let y'all get back to your day.